grateful that we're able to meet here on Google Hangouts. We ask that we'll have thy spirit with us, and you say and ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Whoa.
Amen. Okay.
Amen.
Is this working, or did it cut off?
I can hear you. It's working for
Okay,
me.
sweet. Because everyone said amen super late, so I was like, okay. All right. So just let's see, before invite. Quick synopsis. There's this guy McBride who is in charge of the opening of the New York. I guess I don't know if, or sorry, Washington D.C. Hotel, the Ritz-Carlton, and there's just a lot going on, hiring and how they're gonna make it work. I guess a background of the Ritz-Carlton is hey Craig. A background of the Ritz-Carlton. There's this guy who was in the dishwasher business, and then he was like, well, I'm gonna start my own hotel. So he did in London and other places, and then now he's a multi-millionaire company. And yeah, that brings us to the Washington D.C. Location. So I guess the first question is, what is the real issue? Whether that's technical, organizational, or whatever. What's the real issue?
I'll go first, I guess. In my opinion, the real issue was Collins is an idiot.
Wait, which one was Colin?
He's the he's the COO of the Millennium Partners Group, and he thinks he knows better, I guess, about trying to open up the hotel, and has
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
his own set of ideas of what should be done and how it should be done, and he's not trusting
Right.
the Ritz-Carlton management at all. So that's, in my opinion, that was the main problem. It was just that he just is stepping out of bounds. It was an organizational problem. It really wasn't a technical one.
Right. Anyone else?
I also feel that the 7 days project was a major concern over there. Because when you looked at the Ritz-Carlton 7 days countdown in program, it was kind of preventing the hotel from maximizing their occupancy. And when you follow the case study, you realize that Collins, being the manager of hotels for the Million Partners, was kind of stressing his time on the 7 days process, on the 7 days countdown process. And I feel that on that point, he asked a question: if the 7 days time frame will limit the hotel's ability to open at a higher occupancy rate and to also reach the accepted standard of 80%. And I feel that the reason why he thought the 7 days project was a concern was because he wanted to ensure that the service established is flawless and has a real draw for potential residents. That's what I think the 7 days project was something you were able to understand. So that's what I feel.
Cool. Thanks, Al. Anyone else?
Brandon is just full of background noise. It's awesome.
Sorry.
Well, I guess I'll go. So I thought one of the other problems was they're trying to make perfect employees in a 7-day process, and you can't make someone perfect at their job in 7 days, especially when they don't have any practice. So I thought that was just another problem.
So I'm going to disagree with both of you guys in that obviously they need to have a high quality of service, and I totally get the issue with his concerns about wanting to have a higher being able to start out with a higher occupancy rate. But there's a few logistical things that come into play with that, and the first thing is the construction of the hotel. If they were to push back and extend the training before the hotel opened, there's a lot of stuff that might not even be done in the hotel for the employees to even be able to do that training that they do, the 3 days of training, when they're actually learning their jobs and stuff.
Right.
They would have to essentially have the hotel almost completely done. Based on the case study, it sounds like constructions of hotels it's a very precarious situation, and in that there's many times the hotels being finished as they're doing the training. So you have to look at a cost issue of, if you, a logistics issue is if you hire employees before that point, is it going to be too chaotic with the construction going on? And the second thing is if they decide to extend the training, after the construction is totally complete, that's weeks or days of actual, even if it's a low occupancy, but they're missing out on the occupancy they could have while they're doing the training.
Yeah.
So you got to look at two ways. The other thing is there's an exhibit in the case study that shows all the different post opening trainings that all the staff have to go through. There's hours and hours and hours and hours of trainings, that was listed at the bottom of the case study that talk about, the continued training and the continued leadership programs that they go through. And I don't think, if you've ever worked in a service industry, you're not going to learn your job just mock doing it, without guests there. The only way you learn is by having guests there and by dealing with the guests, because that's that's where you're going to be learning. You're not going to learn with no guests there. There has to be, you can't have a perfect scenario, I think, with having employees being, completely ready to go without having customers there. So the only solution I can see to that is having mock customers, but people know those are fake customers, So I still think that I personally think that, they've been around a long time. They've been through this process. They've seen that it works. And they want to retain the employees. They don't want to push them too hard. There's a reason why they do this. There's a reason why there's, and I think Collins just didn't think about it. He didn't think that, okay, there are reasons why that Ritz-Carlton has this process. They've thought about it. There's a reason why it's only 7 days. There's a reason why, they have a lower occupancy rate when they start it. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little out of control.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you to not have it open longer, because there's that one quote in the thing where it said, if you have an apple today, you can sell it tomorrow, but you can't sell a hotel room tomorrow because the day has already passed, or something like that.
Right.
So I mean, there's definitely that, but what about the Noodles and Company? How they brought in previous people to help train. I think they could at least do that and have pre-trained people come in and train the new hires.
Right, that's a good idea. I don't know if they would have to. I mean, that's probably I don't know if that's a huge expense, that they're willing to do.
Yeah.
They'd have to look at the cost benefit with, doing that. But
I also think that there's some other issues with that too.
They could also bring in, for the next hotel that's opening up in Georgetown, they could definitely do that because it's nearby. But what were you going to say, Brandon?
I was going to say, it sounds like they also have some other issues with that, because it sounds like this hotel is a little bit different than all their other ones.
Correct.
It has different amenities, different kind of things that it has to work around. So I think that at the same time, they're also trying to figure out how to include all these new aspects. So I think if they just brought someone in who knew how to run the hotel, there'd be a lot more other things that they just didn't quite figure out. So I think they were learning as they were training, to be honest.
Yeah, I also think that something was missing out there, which is lack of information. I realized that Ritz-Carlton lack information as to the response of employees to the 7 days countdown. And also, I see that too, this aspect of this culturalization is difficult in the case analysis. And eliminated from this analysis. Now, I realize that there's a need for more information to be given to the employees. Now, employees complain that they need more information from management, either their supervisors, either from their co-workers, either from their customers, from anywhere. They needed information to work with. And when there become lack of information, then employees will also feel that they do not receive the right amount of information to do their job. And when such things happen, employees become frustrated, and the quality of the organization's product and services will suffer. So I think that over here in the case study, the employees were looking for information, but Ritz-Carlton was unable to give the employees the quality information they need in order to maximize towards their services and products.
Yeah, you're definitely right, but the thing is they don't punish the people that when they, or the employees when they do something wrong. So I don't think they would get too frustrated. They're just trying to learn from their mistakes. So, yeah. Which is actually the second question. So why do you guys think it's important to understand the issues that go on with starting a company or starting a hotel business? Like, why is it even important to understand issues?
I think that one of the main reasons why it's important to understand the issues is because regardless of what industry you open, they're going to have very similar issues. They won't be the exact same, but they're all going to be very similar, like how to train, when to open up, how
Turnover.
Exactly, turnover of stuff. Like airplanes and airports have the exact same problems as hotels of like the occupancy or seating and training people how to do the stuff. It's kind of like you understand one, you can pretty much figure out the rest.
So you're saying that if you understand all the issues, you can help prevent them in the future when you open up another company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what the answer says in the parentheses. Good job.
Oh, really? Cool.
Okay, so let's see. It says define a competitive advantage. So here's econ class coming into our discussion. So does someone want to explain competitive advantage?
So I was going to say something, but I'm not anymore. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm pretty okay. So if I remember correctly, competitive advantage is when you can do something more efficient than another company. Therefore, you're gonna produce this while you let them produce something else, and then you're gonna trade because it's cheaper to trade than to produce everything yourself. So I think that's what a competitive advantage is. So now what is the Ritz competitive advantage? I I would either go between service or hotel rooms. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Is it asking for this specific location or just the hotel chain in general?
The chain in general.
Okay.
I think one of the things that's unique is their motto, like, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's
Right.
a different mentality of how employees probably, feel and how they, there was a couple of, great stories about how, people had got that sense of, I'm just as important as the guest, and, I can treat them, at a high standard, and they'll treat me at a high, and vice versa or whatever. So I think their motto kind of sets the tone for that unique culture that they have at the Ritz-Carlton, and that's probably one of their competitive edges, is that they have this, they've built this culture that's kind of around that motto.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree. 'Cause they're
Yeah,
they're
me too.
trying to, oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. I agree with that completely. I think that they're kind of trying to do the same thing that what's it called? Berlooms or whatever it is. It's a retail like clothing store where they just focus super hard on customer service.
What is it called?
Uh, I'm trying to think. I think it's like Brawlums or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd have to look it up. But anyways, they just focus super intense on the customer service because that's something that they can control, and they don't really try and be competitive on as far as pricing. And I think that this hotel kind of does the same thing. They can focus a lot on having the employees and the workers understand the concept of real customer service, which is always nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the Chick-fil-A thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not gonna say their prices are the best, but their customer service is pretty good. So what is the Ritz selling then? Is it their customer service, or is it hotel rooms, or restaurants, or is it their shopping malls, whatever they have?
It's just the
What are they
experience as a
selling?
whole.
What?
They're just selling the experience as a whole, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think, the experience. But I also think mainly it is the customer service, which is a big part of the experience, because everyone that works there goes through the trainings. Anything else? Any other input?
I think it's just an overall thing. I mean, Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton are both known as luxury hotel properties, and they've had, it's just because their properties are beautiful, everything. I don't think it's just one specific thing, except for the fact that you could label it as, everyone recognizes them as a luxury brand. You have higher expectations, and that's expected at those hotels. So those hotels have to constantly perform at a really high service level, which
Yeah.
is, one of their main, things that they're constantly having to keep in check.
Yeah. So let's go back to that ladies and gentlemen thing you were talking about. So how does the Ritz create ladies and gentlemen in just 7 days?
I don't think they do. I think what they do is they hire people who already have those tendencies and just teach them how to bring it out in themselves.
Yeah, because how many people came to the interviews? Like 2,300 or something, and they only
Yeah, it was
hired
crazy.
400, right?
Yep. So I don't think that they fully train them how to do it. I think they hire people who already have that concept just in their personalities.
Okay. And I mean, anyone can go loose, I mean, if you're not demonstrating self-control, anyone can go crazy. But I think it's also the atmosphere in the hotel. Like I'm sure with the building they create an atmosphere where it's like, hey, let's do it right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sarah or Craig?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely certain employees that are gonna be better at working there. Oh, yeah, there's definitely gonna be like certain employees that have a heads up and then are able to be trained to become, I guess, like Ritz-Carlton. Because there's always gonna be people who just don't want to put in the effort, who don't want to give good customer service. There's always the people at the drive-through who are just pissed off all day,
Yep.
But
And it said that there's always going to be the 2 or 3% that would be that, but it's the 5% that we're trying to help.
yeah, and so I don't know, like when you go to Ritz-Carlton, like you expect a certain level, like you're paying. Like I've been to a couple with my dad just on business trips, and like everything there is like crazy, crazy expensive. The rooms per night and the drinks at the pool and the dinners are like $100 a person. And so like when you go there, you want everything to be like top notch, because you're paying for it. Like you don't go there to save money. And so when you go there, you want like kind of like what they say, it's ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. So you want the people to kind of know, correct table manners. Even like the waiters, you want them to do certain things. You kind of expect it. So I think there's certain people that are like that want to perform at that level and that like working at the Ritz because of that.
Yeah.
I think they feel like they're more than just regular hotel employees. They feel like a sense of pride in their job because they're working at such a prestigious hotel.
Yeah, and that's probably why the turnover rate is so low. Well, low for the hotel business.
Yeah.
I think it was 20%, right?
I think it was interesting that, I don't know who mentioned it, I think it might have been Schultz in the case study, but how he was saying that his opinion was that one of the ways that you change behavior is by a strong emotional experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole purpose of the 7-day training, was to have it be a really high emotional experience, like something that it was like, it could be behavior / life changing in the fact that it's a totally different experience that you've ever had, just because of the way that they're doing training, and that their top management comes in and they're, it's not just, peon, just the managers of the hotel there. I mean, it sounded like, if you read through the training, I mean, it was pretty intense and very, it covered a lot of different areas, and I don't know. I think they. I don't know if that's a correct thing or not. If that really, I don't think it necessarily changes certain habits or anything. But I think that they were just trying to give the opportunity for people to right away see that this is a different place. This is a different working environment. This is going to be different. So, get on board or not. I think that's why it's so short, is because if you drag it out, people's energy levels go down, and they're just like, this is just another job, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I looked up the place I was thinking of. It's Nordstrom.
Oh, Nordstrom's, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys heard about that place?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, they pretty much do the exact same thing, where they don't even try and compete with the prices and stuff. They just teach their employees to really treat everyone like royalty. And that's something that's really interesting. So yeah, I feel like they're just the hotel chain of Nordstrom.
There you go. Okay, so let's debate it out and let me just read this question and we'll have to debate. But we've already talked about it. Should McBride lengthen the amount of time spent training and give detail why or why not? So we know what Sarah's point of view is. It's
Don't you always know my point of view?
I'll be honest, I agree with her.
Okay. Why? What made you agree? Like what point?
The biggest thing that kind of makes me agree with her is that you really can't train people in mock scenarios. They have to get experience from actually doing it. And that's just something that comes with learning anything.
Okay. Craig?
It's whether they should lengthen the training period or not.
Yeah, so if you remember, the training is 7 days.
Uh-huh.
So do you think they should keep it the same, or should they lengthen that training?
Well, what did the guy from the Millennial place? He wanted to lengthen it, but then fill the occupancy rate quicker, right? Was that his stance?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Do you guys remember Brandon or Sarah?
Wait, say your question again.
What was the guy from Millennial place, like the big investor guy?
Collins.
Yeah, did he wanted to lengthen the training, right?
Yeah, he just said, I think you guys should, and not only that, but there was a weird paragraph in the middle of the case study where he's like, something about getting into a sticky situation with, if you don't have high customer service, and he looked at one of their SQIs, and he's like, you guys need to improve this SQI, and there was like a whole list of SQIs, and then he's like, and you guys should have like monogrammed pillowcases for like returning customers, and he had these random ideas, and I was like, dude, you have all these random ideas that are totally not connected and not like there's a whole list of SQIs that go into play, not with guest service, not just one issue. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
he's the dude.
that guy was full of hot air. If you have a very successful, proven method, I don't think you should go changing it all over the place because you think it's a good idea.
Well, it was proven for hotels, right? But this is the
Yeah.
first like mega chain that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was just attached to condominiums, and underneath was like restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was like a big sports complex or something like that.
Right, yeah. And it doesn't say if like the hotel has access to all that, or like it just says that it's connected to like the condominium residence area. Like there's a hotel that's connected to this building or whatever. I don't know.
And although I think that would affect the clientele and like a few smaller things with running the hotel, overall, I think they need to keep the model the same.
I agree.
If I went to all that stuff, then went there, and it was completely different than what I experienced, then the brand name would totally be shot.
What do you think, Justin?
So all right. So I think okay, before Sarah gave her point of view, I thought they needed to lengthen it. But once she said once I remembered about the Apple analogy where you can't sell or rent out a room yesterday.
Right.
So you're always losing money. So I think just hop into it and start getting revenues as quick as possible. I think that's going to be the best thing. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just in regards to the hotel, I think they should keep the model the same. I think it's been proven it works for them. They can get it done in 7 days, and it works out.
Yeah, it's definitely been proven. Okay, so since we all agree on that, we'll move into that part of the question. So, what expectations do you think customers have for the Ritz-Carlton that has just opened?
Read that one more time.
Yeah, what expectations
Expectations.
yeah, do you think customers have for the Ritz-Carlton that has just opened?
Well, then it's going to be like all the rest of them, right?
Yeah.
If not better, because it's newer.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just go to the next question then. How much training should we be doing on the job? So while customers are there, how much training do they need?
I think for a kind of business like that, they will constantly need training. I don't think it has to be like days and days ends of training, but I think there should be constant training meetings.
There is if you look at below in the case study, there's a schedule of the types of trainings that they continue doing.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that they absolutely
They
need
need
to
to
have.
continue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like they said, they have to have a daily lineup. There's certain things that they continue to do out of tradition because they know that it keeps morale up, and there's like an accountability factor I think that goes with that. Like they have the daily lineups with each whatever set of staff, and it's like it's more of a formal. They keep it formal. It's not like you just walk into work. Like you have to be there at a time for lineup and whatever. I think they're their expectations are going to be the same, just like Craig said.
Yeah. So here's an interesting question. Do you really want to be learning at the expense of your customers?
I
No.
think that's a bad question because it's an assuming that it's at the expense of your customers.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that.
I mean, who's to say that
is-
that's really at the expense of the customer? It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is hard though, because I mean, if you go to any hotel, regardless of how long it's been open, you do expect it to be like full functioning, and like just like all the other ones. And it's like not an excuse being like, oh, we've only been open for 2 days, we're still learning. It's like I don't care, I'm paying $1,000 a night for this room, you know.
Yeah.
And so like, have you guys read the book The E-Myth by chance?
No.
Mm-mm.
It just there's a section that talks about this one hotel or like the experience that people have the first time and how they kind of expect that every other time. So like there's a barber like the small example he gives too is like there's a barber he goes to and the first time he goes there, he gets his haircut and then he gets like a shave with a straight blade and he gets they do like a scalp rub and like just all these extra stuff that wasn't even included. The guy went above and beyond. And then the next time he went in there, he expected all that stuff, but the guy didn't do it, so he thought it was like an awful experience, even though that wasn't included in the first experience. So once like hotels set a certain standard, people like expect that every single time. And if they don't get like all those little extra bonuses, even if those weren't supposed to be included, then they feel like gypped. They feel like they feel like they're missing out on part of the brand. So it would be hard to go to like a full functioning like Laguna Niguel, like a beautiful Ritz-Carlton on the coast of California, and you have like it's been open for however long, a long time, and everything functions perfectly well. And then you go to like a brand new one, and they're still trying to work out the kinks. You kind of get like a bad taste in your mouth. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah,
you
but
had a great
what if,
experience with the first one.
yeah, but what if they gave you like a discount? So I don't know. Is $1,000 like a price for one night at the Ritz?
Yeah, that's about a free night.
Okay, yeah. So, what if they discounted it to like 500? Would it be okay?
I I don't know, because the people who are going there don't really care about price, obviously. Like they don't. It's not like, oh, you can stay here for $500. It's like, well, I paid 1,000. I want like this experience. That's what I'm paying for.
Honestly, the way I see it, absolutely, I want my customers to suffer during training. The reason why I say that is because there is no way I am going to be able to staff my entire hotel with CEOs. There is always going to be someone learning something new and how to help people better, but that doesn't mean that they don't have something to offer the customers. So although I do expect my employees to have a certain level of competency, I do not expect them to be perfect because they're not the CEO of the company. They don't know everything.
Yeah, and going back to that book that Craig was just talking about, like if you start really good and then don't do those extra stuff, it's gonna be bad. But if you start at set low expectations and go up, they're gonna have a better experience every time. So I mean, I think it all works out in the end.
I do think there should be a level of expectations, though, for the employees. Like, obviously, with a certain bar, I don't want them going under that because that'd be stupid.
Right. Okay, so why is Collins pushing for a longer time frame?
I think we already kind of talked about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did.
The thing is it's. I mean, I understand that he wants a higher occupancy, but it's not gonna. If you want these employees to give the best service that they can give at the first few weeks, you can't push them because then service goes down. So which one is it? You gotta, it's like there has to be a trade-off, and that's not going to happen if you want the service to be there right away.
Yeah, I forgot who said it, but they're like, I just lost my train of thought. Never mind.
Okay.
So, what should $7 million buy in way of influence? I don't know what this question means, so.
So here's what it means. The investor, what he did is he gave him $7 million for a percentage of the location's company. So like, I don't know, I can't remember how much percentage, but let's say if he got 51%, that means he is a majority owner of that location of the company.
Right.
So therefore, he should have a majority of the say. However, if they negotiated it and that $7 million was for like 3%, that 3% doesn't really mean much.
Right. So okay, thanks for explaining that. So yeah, back to the question, what should $7 million buy in way of influence?
I think it depends on what the contract is defined as. Is not just even percentages of what that company is going to receive, the management company, but also the fact that there's got to be defining roles as far as influence, and if they've hired them to manage the hotel, then they have to trust them to manage the hotel. So that's kind of how I looked at it. I mean, you can't have somebody that decides to we hired you to staff and man the hotel, but we're going to stick our noses in the operations of it, and so they might feel like they have a justification, because because of the fact that they're the owners.
Yeah.
But I still think there should be a clear cut definition of what roles each of them play.
Yeah, generally when there's negotiations, that's something that is covered in the negotiations of who has control.
Right.
So honestly, to answer that question, it depends on what they negotiated.
Right, depends on the contract.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, wasn't didn't they invest like $800 million in it anyway, or was that like in general? Because it said like millennial people or whatever they had. I can't remember if it was 800 for this specific project or if that was like over a span of hotels. You guys remember that?
I don't remember the number. I just know that at the very end he's like,
Oh, sorry.
Because $7 million, I don't think would be like a huge.
No.
It'd probably be under 5%.
Well, yeah. Either way, I think it depends on, again, the contract that was written up and what they agreed to. I mean, if that wasn't discussed or not in the contract, then it should be.
Right. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have done the reading or not, but that's the next question. What principles from the reading apply? I've only read about 5 pages from the reading so far, so one thing that it said was that it said that so there's Martin, who is kind of like a stickler, right? And then he was like, I don't think I could handle going back to the things we were before. So I mean, if they're always trying to get better, and they did partner with Millennium, who, I mean, which is something that they've never done. So I mean, they're just trying new things. So in the book, they're trying a new thing. This place, they're trying a new thing. So I mean, it's all test and trial too. If it works out, then why would they go back? But if it doesn't work out, then definitely just keep your own little thing, right? Does that make sense?
There was something else that I related to the book, and I was gonna write it down, and because I knew that question might come up, but I totally spaced it, and I'll have to think about it. But
did you read the whole thing?
There was something that was like totally related. Yeah, I'm almost done. I think part of it was just that I can't remember now there was a definite connection though. Well, part of it was just trust. Collins had a serious issue with trusting James, even though he's like, oh yeah, James is a great guy. Okay, well, there's an obvious lack of knowing who he is, knowing his experience, knowing, like trusting him to handle it, trusting him that he knows what he's doing, So I think one of the biggest things that plays in from the book is just that he's showing a huge lack of trust.
Right.
I agree.
So what are the key concepts from the case? Yeah. So yeah. It's telling me to. Okay. Help group members know the key con. Well, first of all, is there anything else before we get into the conclusion that you might want to share?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
9.
Cool. So the key concepts, I guess, were extending it or not extending it, and then we talked about, or the training, that is, and then we also talked about how bad of a leader Collins is. And then let's see. Okay, yeah, I didn't find articles. So yeah, I mean, I guess what we found to be, or what we think to be the best, is just keep everything the same. I mean, it's all working, so keep that training, and then try to have better trust. I mean, I guess that goes with the whole book, right? Like the whole trust thing. Like you have to. I mean, that's why they have those off-site things, so that they can trust each other more, get more on a personal level. So I guess that's what Collins needs to get on a more personal level with the other leaders and management of the company. So, but is there any last comments, or we just end?
I got nothing else to add, so.
Sarah?
No, I'm good.
Sweet. Craig, I mean, your microphone's off, but
Oh yeah, my bad. I said that's it. I don't have anything else to add either.
okay, sweet. Well, okay. Well, thanks for coming. Or do we even have another one of these? Is there
Yeah,
one?
I think we have one more.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I guess next on the rotation is me.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what happened to Hal too. Like he just jumped out halfway through the meeting.
I wonder if his connection dropped.
Yeah, probably.
Very likely.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Well, we'll see you next week then.
Awesome possum. See y'all.
You guys.
Bye.
Bye.